Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well and having a good week. Funny seeing you here on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday, but I hope that is all right for everyone. Right, so my name is Marcus. I'm one of the customer success managers here at Sendible, and I will be taking you through more of a general look through the dashboard. So I'm going to try and take you through as many different areas and scenarios through the dashboard as possible. And this week, you get to kind of ask your burning questions around any topic. Normally, we ask you to keep things specific to the topic we're discussing, but today you get to ask away. Uh, Slightly longer session today. We could potentially take up to 45 minutes. I will spend the first 30 minutes going through the platform, and then I'll be joined by my colleague from support, Julie, who will help answer your questions. So, for those that haven't been here before, just to kind of navigate around, if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you'll see a few different tabs. One of those tabs is chat, where you can see Anne has said hello. So feel free to say hi in the chat, let everyone know that you're here. And then we have a questions tab. So if you do have any questions throughout the session, please add those questions into the questions tab. And then we will, like I said, at the end of the session, spend a few minutes and go over your questions and give you the answers. Right now, anyone that has been here before, you know we like to play icebreakers before we jump into the dashboard. Now, today's icebreaker is going to take part as a poll. So I'm just going to add a poll to the chat. And it's the first time doing polls, so I hope this goes okay. And so you should, if you see a polls tab, you should see a question that says, out of the four main social networks, which one can you live without? So it's a classic game of one has to go. So please enter the poll and submit your votes. Can you live without Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn? And if you don't see the poll, then feel free just to add your answer in the chat. But if you do see the poll, please give it a go so I know it works. To get things started, I could live without Instagram, believe it or not. So I'm going to go and submit my vote here. Oh, we've got 8 votes already, and Instagram is leading the way with, oh, no, yeah, it's still leading the way with 3 votes, followed by Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all with 2 votes each. So please continue to add your votes, and maybe we can check the results out before the end of the session. Awesome. I'm just watching them sort of grow and shrink as well, which is great. Right, now let me start to share my screen and get you guys in. So in just a second, you should all be able to see my calendar. Okay, well, I'm currently in the queued section. If I just switch over to scheduled, you should all see my calendar. But before I jump into the calendar section and publish an activity, I want to kind of run a scenario with you. Okay, so I'm going to head over to manage users, which is an option which is available for admins, where you can kind of add and edit your user base. So using the drop down on the top right hand side, I'm going to go to manage users. And over here, you can see what my user setup is. So I'm Marcus McClellan. I am the main administrator on the dashboard here. Now, being a main administrator, that means if I was to add any other dashboard to my account, I could use my dashboard drop down here and I can switch in to those different dashboard users. Okay. So I wouldn't have to log out of my dashboard and log into another one. If I wanted to see what Mr. Dubs or Savannah or Julie have been up to, I can use my filter and switch into their dashboard, which would then give me access to all of their content and allow me to do work on their behalf. Now, good news is that I've just got myself a brand new client that I'm ready to add to my dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the new user button and I'm going to set up a new client. So it's clear here. So my new client is a barbershop called Hair Force One. Great name, right? And the email is going to be hairforce1@sendible.com. And then I'll just go through and add a username and password. Now, if I wanted to add a permission to this new user, so control what they can see, then I can use my permission group drop down and select what they can see. So I'm going to make them default. So I'm going to head down into my account tab. And because I want them to be a client, which means when they log in, I do not want them to be able to use the My Dashboard drop down and view other dashboards. I want them to be a client, which means they'll only be able to view their own dashboard when they log in. Now, it's going to be a client that's going to be managed by myself. So I'm going to add them into my hierarchy, okay, and maintain that user hierarchy. Now, here Force 1 will not need access to any other dashboard. So I'm going to leave this field blank. And I'm going to add the Here Force 1 color, which is blue. Next, I have an account tab for workflow. Now, if Here Force 1 needed their post to be approved before publishing, I could set this to yes and then decide who their approver should be. But this isn't going to be the case. I'm going to allow Here Force 1 to log in and manage their own profiles without the need of approval. If I needed to collect any other additional content or details for this user, I could go to other. You can see these are some custom fields that I've created, and I can create new custom fields on the fly if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and create the user for Here Force 1, and you can see straight away we have a new dashboard set up as a client with default permissions. And over on the right-hand side, I can see how many users I have created, how many are inactive, active, and a tally of profiles that I've set up. So that's great. I've created a brand new client dashboard, which is now going to be available for me to switch into. Now, obviously, I've not shared anything with this dashboard. So once the client logs in, they'll see their priority inbox and social feeds are empty, and they have nothing in their compose box to begin publishing. So the next thing I want to do is to give this Here Force 1 dashboard access to some social profiles. Okay, so let's head over to profiles and we can go to add profiles. Now, when adding profiles, if I'm impersonating Here Force 1, I'm basically adding profiles on Here Force 1's behalf. Okay, so that's one approach you can do. I'm actually going to manage, I want to own all profiles I add to my account. So I'm going to switch back to my dashboard and I'm going to add the Here Force 1 Facebook page to my dashboard, and then I will share that profile with the Here Force 1 dashboard. So let's begin. And click Facebook, and I want to add a Facebook page. And this is going to prompt me to log into Facebook and present two options. The first option is for me to continue. 9 times out of 10, this will be the option that I do, but I want to make sure that the pages that I'm an admin of have all been selected. It's actually really important to have select all picked here. And the reason is, even though I only want to add Here Force 1 at this time, if I was to unselect some pages that had previously been connected, doing this would break my Point MMA connection and any other pages that have been connected. So I do not want to do that. I don't want to disconnect a page while connecting a new one. So to avoid that, I'm going to make sure I select all, and the same with the permissions. All permissions need to be set to yes. Once that's done, I can return back to my form here. Okay, and then out of this drop down, you'll see those pages that were selected. And because select all has been chosen, if let's say tomorrow I become an admin of a new Facebook page, by default, that would filter its way through to this list because select all was chosen. So what I want to do now is to add the Here Force 1 profile and then fine tune how I'd like to handle link previews, if I wanted to add any geo-targeting for this profile and so on. Whenever adding any profile, we will ask you the question on how we should alert you when you receive new activity. So if someone sends you a direct message or if someone leaves a comment, how would you like to be alerted? So by default, all new activity alerts will go into your priority inbox, which we'll talk about in just a second. However, you can combine these with your priority inbox and email, or just email only. Okay. I would say priority inbox is the best way to go, just to avoid multiple emails coming through every time you receive a comment. So let's go ahead and save this page. Now, what that's done is it's added this profile, and it will add it under my profiles. So if I look under my profiles, and I can filter my profiles, so I can filter by Facebook pages if I want, and I can see there's the Hair Force One page. Or I could just search for Hair Force One. So I do a search for hair. You can see I've actually got a Hair Force One for Facebook, and I've also got one for Instagram business. Now, these are added to my dashboard. So remember, Hair Force One still doesn't have any profiles added to their dashboard. So I need to either share these profiles or transfer them over. So while looking at my profiles, I can look at these three dots here, and then I've got the options to share this profile. So it's still going to be available in my dashboard and any dashboard that is shared with. So I can share this profile with Hair Force One, just like this. And then it will tell me that this Facebook page has been shared with one user. If you are an admin, you can do this process in bulk. You can switch back to manage users. You'll see that there's an options for profile sharing. And what you need to do is just make sure you're looking at the profiles that you are the owner of and who you'd want to share those with. So I want to share some of my profiles with Hair Force One. I've already shared the Facebook page. So now I want to find that Instagram page, and I can share that with Hair Force One as well. And as I said, if I wanted to share all of those, I could do, but I only want to share the profiles that are relevant to that client. Okay. So now Hair Force One will have two profiles on their dashboard when they log in. So if we now switch over to Hair Force One and we take a look at their social feeds, you'll see they've got a social feed for Hair Force One, Facebook, and for Hair Force One on Instagram. Okay. Now, just something that comes up quite a lot is people will switch into clients' dashboards, sort of land on their calendar, and then they will see activity that isn't for Hair Force One. And they say, Marcus, why am I seeing content on my client's calendar? Well, let me just clarify. Technically, I'm still logged in as myself. I'm just impersonating Hair Force One. So this calendar, I will see no matter who I'm impersonating, whether it's me, Julie, Hair Force One. When Hair Force One logs in, their calendar is going to be filtered by their own activity. So it would look empty because they haven't done anything yet. So that comes up quite a lot. Why can I see content from other brands on a Hair Force One or Julie's calendar? It's because it's showing you your calendar. It's basically giving you the admin rights so you can see what's happening across the board. Okay, fantastic. So I've created a new user. I've shared some profiles with them. So let's now discuss the calendar and what you'll see. So let's switch back into my dashboard. Now, when you log into Sendible, you will be shown your calendar and you will be able to see what type of activity to expect and, upcoming. So what I've done is I've put a few different scheduled posts and posts waiting for approval on my calendar to talk you through the different states that you'll see. Now, the first state we see is this sort of grayed out thumbnail on top of my calendar with the red status waiting for approval. Now, if I click to expand, you can see that this post has been created by Savannah, okay, as opposed to the other post with the green corner, which has been created by myself. So we show you with the initials and the color coding who has created each post. And then you can see each of these tiles have a different colored background. If it's sort of grayed out, it basically lets you know that this post is either a draft or it's something that's waiting for approval, which we'll discuss again shortly. If it's then sort of scheduled and it's going to a specific social network, we will color code that social network. So from a sort top-down approach, I can really tell that this is for Facebook, this is for Instagram, and you can see the little logos as well. Okay, this is the Twitter blue and the LinkedIn blue. Now, if the background is white, that basically indicates that you've got one post that's going out to multiple different networks. So this is going out to Facebook and Instagram. Therefore, it has that white background color. What's also good to note on the calendar is what type of view you're looking at. So right now I'm in a month view. And if you are in a month view, you have the ability to take your posts and drag and drop those into a different position. So I can move my posts around to different days, keeping the same scheduled time. If you ever needed to change the actual time, just click in to that thumbnail, click edit, and then you'll be able to edit your post, including the scheduled time down here below. Okay, now that is the scheduled view. There's also a way to view your post that you've added to a queue. So Sendible allows you to create queues, and behind these queues will have days of the week and different time slots. Okay, so I have a queue that I've created called product updates, and product updates has one time slot a week every Thursday at 5:35. And you can see it has some posts already added to this queue. Okay, so queues can be viewed on your calendar, and on the far left, you can get a breakdown of your scheduled posts and your queued posts in more of a list view. Okay, so if I look at scheduled, it will show me the same scheduled posts throughout Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on in a list view. Same with a queue. If I go into the queue and I look at my product updates, it's showing me everything that's been added to the queue. Good thing about the queue is you can sort of shuffle and have a random order of when things should go live, and you can drag and drop things into different positions as well. Okay, you can edit your queued posts in the same way you did with your scheduled posts. Click edit, it will open the compose box. And then rather than the calendar icon being highlighted, it's got the queue icon here where you can access the different queues you've created, and where you can actually create new queues on the fly, where you basically say, give it queue a name. So let's say Fridays only. Head over to Friday and add the time slots that you're happy for content to go live. Another feature when looking at a list view is the ability to export. So now I'm looking at my queued items in a list. Under the more option, you can export these as a CSV. So if you ever needed to export and send these over to an external user, this would be the best way to do it. Scheduled would give you the options to export as a CSV or a HTML file. I really like the HTML file. The format is really good. Gives you this download, which you can add to an email as an attachment, send over to your clients and let them know what they've got scheduled for the coming weeks. Okay, so you can use the filters in those views to filter by specific profile. So if I just wanted, I picked the one that didn't have any content. It was the other point MMA. So I could filter by a profile, by specific users, or by specific keyword as well. And then I can select which ones I need to export and then create myself that download. Okay, excellent. So more options that you've got under publish is you can view what has been sent out as well. So I believe this is quite clean at the moment, but as you start to send content out, you can view what's been sent. Once again, use the filters and find that content here. If for whatever reason a post has become undelivered, you will get an email notification sent to the email associated to the dashboard, and there'll be all of your undelivered posts here. So this is good to see. If there's nothing here, that's good. It means all my posts have been successful. If at any point you have drafted a post, then your drafts will remain here. So you can see a few drafts that I've been working on in the past. In your compose box, we give you the option to save. And when you are saving content, you can save as a draft, or you can save to a content library. So these are libraries that I've created before, and then I could just add posts from my compose box to one of these libraries. Difference being, if I save it as a draft and it's shown sort of here, once it's published, it's then removed from drafts and it will then live in a sent area. If I save something to a library, even after I publish that content from the library, it still will remain in that library. Okay, now as we saw on my calendar, I did have a something waiting to be approved. So if I go to this month, you can see today I have a task. Someone has sent me something to approve. Actually, it was Savannah. So that means a task was created. If I look on my notification, you can see a few hours ago, Savannah G wanted me to approve a post. So then that created a task in my dashboard. Okay. It also, if I go into Savannah's dashboard and I look at tasks, I will know that Savannah has created a task for somebody else. Okay. So Savannah wants me to approve this post and she sent it over to my dashboard. Okay, and she's also left me a nice little note here, which is great. So let's switch back into my dashboard, okay, and see tasks that I have for me. So this has been sent to me from Savannah, and it's the same thing. So Savannah has created a post for Mr. Dubs. Welcome to Sendible Instagram Reels. So if you didn't know, Instagram Reels was released this week. So if I can get a round of applause in the chat, please, that'd be fantastic. And she's also left me a note. Hey, Marcus, please see my post on IG Reels. Okay, so how did Savannah get this over to me? Well, she went into her compose box. She selected Mr. Dubs. Where's Mr. Dubs here? And then she wrote a post about IG Reels. And she, rather than saying send now, thank you, Julie, she sent for approval. So her steps was to seek approval. And then because she isn't locked into a one-to-one approval relationship, she was able to scroll through the list and pick the user that she wanted to. So she added me and left me a note. Okay, so that sent me an email and also an in-app notification where I can then take action as the approver, approve or reject this message. So I can approve and send if I'm happy with this. I could reject the post and leave Savannah a note as to why. Or I could maybe make some further edits and maybe send for further approval. Maybe I can send this over to the Mr. Dubs dashboard and say, hey, Mr. Dubs, you know, me and Savannah are happy. Are you? So that approval can go to multiple steps. Okay, this needs to be pushed through each way. Okay, so I can actually reject and say, you know, we posted about Reels already. All right, so we can say we already sent this post. Now, if I do this, this will send this message back to Savannah. Okay, so you can see it's now being sent back with a red thumbs down. And if I impersonate Savannah, so this is what Savannah will see. She has a notification. Your message was rejected. And, you know, she could then see that it's here with the thumbs down. And she could either resubmit or sort of delete that task. Okay, so that is the publish area, all about how to create things and get them sent out. I want to quickly talk about activity and a few more before we end. And do remember, if there's any questions you have, get them added to the tab. Right, so activity is going to basically, let's get into a dashboard that has activity. So let me go to my new Air Force One dashboard. There we go. This is what we expect. So activity has two sections. Priority inbox, as we discussed, when adding your profiles, we do let you know about any new activity in your priority inbox by default. So this is the most recent activity across the two Air Force One profiles here, mainly on Instagram, letting us know that different users are leaving comments on our page. So we're getting sort of good feedback on this really good haircut here. And on the right hand side in your priority inbox, you will see the filter. So if you want to see content coming through, you know, only today or this week, you can do. If you want to see content purely for a specific profile that you've added, that's okay. And you can also filter by keywords. Then on the right hand side, you've got some actions. So how to engage back with this. So the first action I've got is the conversation. Okay. This will load up the parent post and all comments that have been left. So we'll see 15 Feb 56 and GM and more than just a trim. If I open this here. So this is the original post, 134 likes, and then all of the comments that have been left underneath. Okay. Now, depending on the network, we would be able to respond back. Unfortunately, due to API restrictions, Instagram kind of blocks the ability for me to reply. So if I hit the reply button, it's going to open Instagram in a new tab and ask me to add my reply here. Okay. Any other network, so if I switch back into my dashboard, and you can see I've got a lot of Hair Force One as well. But I would, if I was receiving other comments, so, you know, this Twitter user has left a mention on my Twitter handle, I can reply directly to that Twitter user via the priority inbox. Okay. And depending on the network, like Twitter, you see I've also got the options to like and retweet, which aren't available in Instagram and Facebook. Right. Then I've got my social feeds. This is down a real-time replica of that page. So if I was to view Hair Force One, so let's say I open the profile here, what I'm about to see will be literally a replica of the social feed. Okay, so the latest post is anyone local who wants a free wet shave. You can see that's the top post here, and it would literally just follow what you see here as well. Any comments come through would come here in real time. You can add your comments as well. If you see a comment, you could also reply directly to it. Okay, it will show the comment with a reply option. All right, so you can see I've got my different Facebook profiles. I could also switch into my Messenger tab and manage my inbox in real time as well. Okay, so I could just reply back to Paul or to Gamu in real time. Okay, so that's the difference between the social feeds and priority inbox. A priority inbox is a combination throughout all of the profiles that have received recent engagement, whereas your social feed is literally a replica of what you'd see if you was to view that profile. Okay. There's a few other profile types here. So we know we've got Instagram, which will show the post and the comments, and we know we can't reply directly here, unfortunately. LinkedIn would give us a replica. Okay. And if there was any comments, we could add our comments and update anyone that has commented before. And then I'm going to just skip these for a second and get down to Twitter, because our Twitter feed does give us access to pretty much everything. The home feed, my private DMs, @mentions, a list of my personal tweets, anytime I've been retweeted, which probably isn't that much, and then a breakdown of my followers. Okay. Right. So remember, any questions, please continue to get those in. Where is the priority box on the dashboard? We'll make sure we save some time. Okay. Monitoring. Monitoring is a way of basically social listening. So if you wanted to listen out for a specific conversation online and throughout the web, you can do this by creating yourself a new alert. Okay. Now, every new alert you create would basically be treated as a profile. So if I look at the 3 alerts here, industry mentions, Sendible brand, and social media scheduling, these, sorry, pardon me, I clicked on one button. These are all considered as a profile. Okay. So these are my 3 alerts, which I can manage via my keyword alerts. And what I'm doing here is I'm just listening out for conversations. So when I've built things like my industry mentions for competitors, so if I look at edit here, you can see I'm basically looking for any mention of Sendible, Planoly, or Loomly, but in conjunction and combination with scheduling, schedule, publishing, publish, and report, and so on. So in order to equal a result, it needs to combine at least one of these keywords and one of these keywords. Okay, and then those results would filter through into my keyword alerts area, where we can see Planoly is here and engage, so that equals a result. Sendible and scheduling equals a result. And then on the right hand side, I can engage back with these users, insert myself into this conversation by sort of liking, changing the sentiment that we have picked up and identified, retweeting and sharing, or as I said, replying directly back to these users. We have these three dots, which unlocks a few more options, such as being able to go and view this tweet or translate the content, assign. So I can maybe create a task for another user. If I needed someone else to reply, I could assign this to another dashboard user and leave them a note. I could mark as irrelevant. So if I didn't want it included in my results, I could mark it as irrelevant, and I could also repost, take this content and add it into a compose box. I can see a chart, so I know over the last 2 weeks how popular is, how many times am I getting mentions. Okay, so roughly about 10 a day, I would say. Yeah, which isn't, roughly about 5 a day. And then we do have some more advanced reporting that complements our monitoring. So that is the way to set up your social listening. Hit new alert, complete the form, and roughly within about an hour, you will start to see the results coming through. Now, if you wanted to see something in a bit more real time, we do have this search option here, which is basically like a Twitter plugin, which will allow you to you can see my recent searches, Sendible and social, but you can see in real time, what is happening. So just feel free to enter your keyword. You might be maybe big Love Island fans. Don't know why I said that. I think I'm a bit addicted. And then you can see, what's happening and engage back with these users. Okay, let's forget Love Island. That did not happen. Right, now moving over to content. This is the area where we give you content suggestions, allow you to create your content libraries, and also for you to add your blogs. Okay, so let's just take a quick scan through these. So under content and suggestions, you will have a list of topics and categories that under these will live articles. So let's say we're interested in the weather. If you click weather, you'll see the most recent articles under weather, which you can engage with. I can click the article to view it. I can share any articles that I find in a compose box, or I could get these saved added to a queue or saved to a library. I could also switch and see who are the influencers for the weather. Then I've got all of these Twitter handles that are tweeting about the weather. So let's take if I look into my barber's dashboard, I could start to set up some topics for my barber. So I can search topics for Hair Force One. So he's into barbering. So if I look for barbering here, then I can see all of the most recent articles for barbering. And what I can do is I can star this topic. That will save it. So then when Hair Force One logs in and heads over to content suggestions, barbering is going to be saved and it's always going to live there until they decide to delete it. So you can go through and save your topics, save you from having to sort of find those again by using the search option up the top or by exploring the splash page once you enter that section. RSS feeds will allow you to import your blogs into your dashboards. So let's say I wanted to have my Sendible blog available in my dashboard, or let's say sticking on the topic of Hair Force One, we can create a new feed. We can search for, so I'm just going to quickly do a refresh here. I think something has gone wrong. Bear with me. There we go. Let's switch back into Hair Force One's dashboard. I'm going to add a new feed, publication and blogs. Here we go. And then let's see if we've got any blogs under the barbering keyword. Oh, we do. We've got David Barber, Tech Barber, and so on. So let's add a few of these barber blogs to the dashboard simply by clicking add the feed. And then we can see in real time we're having feeds added. Now you can go through and add as many feeds as you like. They're not considered as a profile. And then if you've got feeds that you really do like, then you could actually explore the option of creating a new auto post, which is a way of referencing the feed and automatically publishing the content that you're picking up in your feed onto your social media channels. Okay, then we have my content. So let's switch over to back to my dashboard here, because you can see I've already created some content libraries. So this is really good because you can create specific content libraries for, I've got video content here. I have video library, marketing library, and all sorts. So you can create brand new libraries and just give it the name that you like. And then you will see consumers and contributors. So these are people you can share your library with. If you wanted someone just to be able to read the content, add them as a consumer. If you want someone to be able to have a bit more permission, such as being able to add, edit, and delete content, you can make them a contributor. Okay. And then you're basically sharing your library throughout the different dashboards that you have. Okay. And then lastly, we have reports. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch into Hair Force One and kind of show you how easy it is to get those reports done. And then we'll stop and go over the questions that have come through. So I'm going to head into reports and I'm going to start with Reports Hub. Okay. Now, Reports Hub will display you some really handy reporting templates for you to get started. And depending on how your dashboards have been set up, the engagement report would be quite useful. The engagement report will take a look at the dashboard you're in and the profiles that dashboard has access to. So in this case, I'm in Hair Force One and I've only got access to 2 profiles. That engagement report will build me a templated report that would only look at those 2 profiles. So let's try and load this again. So here's my Hair Force One engagement report. It's only taking into account Hair Force One on Instagram and Hair Force One on Facebook. And it's put together a nice templated report that kind of looks at the overall behavior across those 2 profiles. Okay. I can filter by date of this report, and I can also save this report, which would add it to my reports folder and allow me to further customize this report. Now, this is a combination across, 2 different networks. I may want to be a bit more specific and drill down into Facebook and into Instagram. And if I wanted to do that, then I could start on Facebook page, select the page that I want to manage. So in this case, Hair Force One, generate the report. Now we know that he's been quite quiet over the last 2 weeks, so I can filter this and look a bit further back. Oops, I might have to go a bit further, even more further back. With our reports, we can go up to 90 days. So then you can see we've got a bit more engagement. Truth be known, he's a bit more active on Instagram. But what we'll do is we have our Facebook report now, and each of these templates here will have a report guide that you can open, give you a little bit more of an understanding of the metrics that we're seeing here. So I'm going to save this report, call it HF1 for short. And that's now going to be saved in the My Report folder. So from here, I can load my report and you can see I've got some options to further customize my report. And I'm going to customize my Facebook report by adding reporting modules for the same brand, but on Instagram this time. So I'm going to jump out of general reports because these are the modules you would see in that engagement report. I'm going to head over to profiles And then I'm going to select my Instagram profile because I've already added Facebook modules. And I'm going to go through and add the modules that I want to see for Instagram. Now, if I was smart, I would have my Instagram PDF open where I could go through and literally reference these modules and get those added. But I've done this a few times, so I know which modules I want to add. So I can scroll through and get the ones that I feel would show me the best value. And as you can see, every time I press plus, it's adding it to the top of my report. So I'm quite happy with those. And now I've got one report that is Instagram for Hair Force One, directly followed by Facebook for Hair Force One. So I'm really happy with that. If I could now, if I wanted to, set up an email so I could email this report to my colleague at Hair Force One. So I could do HF1. Oops. And I could send this report maybe every week, every sort of Friday or Monday, just to let my client know how things have been performing. Right. So let me close this here. And I'm going to invite Julie into the room. There has been a few questions as I've been going through. So Julie, please enter and let's take people through the questions. The chat seems okay. And just to update people on the poll, Instagram did win with 31% of results. Excellent. So thank you for taking part. Julie, welcome. I think there's been a handful of questions, so why don't we just go over those?
Yeah, there was a question about the priority inbox and the social feeds. And I think since those were asked, Marcus went through those areas of the dashboard, but it is kind of critical to understand that the priority inbox is not real time. There is a delay as we are analyzing the sentiment on messages, on replies and comments and those things. Whereas the social feeds area is more of a real-time view if you want to see what's happening right now.
That's all right. I think John also says, under more in social feeds, what does refresh do exactly? That's a good question. So basically, we have refresh here. So if you're looking at your social feed and, you know, maybe someone's posting onto your page, just click refresh just to get the most up-to-date version of your social feed. Okay. I think that, oh, and then you have your options here, maybe if that's what you meant as well. So under more, you've got the options to translate. Refresh, maybe you've had more likes or more comments on a specific post, and assign, where you can ask another user to take action on this post. So I hope one of my two answers answered that question, John. And then I think there was a question from Lynn here, Julie.
No, Lynn is just popping out, I believe. But okay, there's two Lyns.
Sorry.
Lynn had a question about sometimes a profile can appear in the compose box
Yes.
twice. And
Yes.
there are a couple of reasons that can happen. One of which is a technical reason that the support team would have to get involved in to sort out. It shouldn't happen anymore, but sometimes it does.
I
But
can. Sorry, Julie. Go ahead.
well, the more common reason is that two people have added that social profile to
Yeah.
Sendible. And so one person has added it under my profiles, and a second person has also added it under my profiles and then shared it with other people, as Marcus demonstrated earlier.
Yeah.
The best practice there is to have one account be responsible for connecting all of the social profiles. And if you have the ability to have a generic email address, you know, like info@yourcompany.com, and make that a Sendible user, and then assign all of the social profiles connections and reconnections to that account. That can really help eliminate that social profiles showing up twice.
Yeah.
Because then they're responsible for that. But yeah, you should only add a social profile once to your entire Sendible account for two reasons. One, it shows up twice. You get confused. You pick the wrong one. and your posts won't publish successfully because the one person doesn't have the right permissions or something. And secondly, it can take up social profile slots in your subscription and cost you more money, to be honest. So yeah, you do want to make sure that they're only being um,
Added just the
added
once.
just once.
So in my
Lynn,
example, sorry, Julie, just to hammer that point home. In my example, I was logged in as Marcus. I added the profile for Hair Force One, and then I shared that profile with Hair Force One. Okay. However, when Hair Force One logs in, okay, they may say, "Oh, I haven't added any profiles," and then they might go and add Hair Force One again under themselves, which means that would then have Hair Force One under my profiles and Hair Force One under shared with me. That would cause a duplicate to happen.
okay, pause right there, Marcus, because Lynn had a follow-up question about
Oh,
how do you tell who added the profiles? And if it shows up under my profiles, you added those. If it showed up with shared with me, like Marcus was just showing, you can see over at the right-hand side, it says shared by MM. And hopefully there's a limited number of people with MM for initials, but at least you've narrowed it down if there's more than one.
if there is more than
So,
one, then you can
yeah,
color code your users. So if you had more than one MM, just make sure that when you're in account, that MM1 has a different color code than MM2.
yep,
And that's another way to identify.
yep. Good
Okay.
question.
That is a good question. I think I saw a few more, and sorry if we're running over a little bit.
Mariel
Okay,
had a question about custom
that's right.
reports. Can you demonstrate that real quick?
Exactly. So, with custom reports, remember we started off, didn't we, in the reports hub? And at any time, if you're happy with what you see, so we'll do another one for Hair Force One here. If you're happy with what you see, simply by clicking save would save it into my reports and allow you to customize. So all you do is hit save. That we'll do just test. Okay. And then that's going to add it to my reports. Now, um, this option is only available for some packages. So depending on what price plan you're on, you may not have the options to save because not all price plans allow for saved reports. So if you're on Creator or Traction, the save button is likely not to be there. However, if you're on Scale or Expansion or one of the larger ones, you should be able to see that save button. So that is potentially why you can't seem to see it. Okay, cool. Anything else you'd like to add here, Julie? Any more questions from anyone left in the chat?
I can't think of anything specific. We have covered a lot. So there's
Yeah.
certainly a lot for people to take in, no doubt about that.
And
Um,
just to let you know, we are going to run
oh,
another one of these sort of general sessions again in August. So keep your eye out on your emails and the resource center down here, because you know in the announcements tab is where we will let you know about August's deep dive training webinars, and there is some exciting stuff, obviously including Instagram Reels, which I'm sure you're all dying to see. Sorry, Julie, I think I interrupted you there.
well, this is a completely different webinar, to be honest, and it's out there and it's recorded. But my favorite dashboard feature is part of the Compose box, where you can actually edit your images right in Sendible. And when you do that, even if you just open the editor and save it, it will resize them, file size, not dimensions.
Mm.
You can choose to change the dimensions in there as well, but it will make it meet the guidelines, the requirements for the various social networks. And so if you ever have problems with images, just opening the editor and closing it again can often resolve the most basic ones, at least.
Yeah, that's a great point. So as we said, as you've got your image here, now, thankfully, I don't have any warnings yet, but as a way to just literally ensure that the file size and the dimensions are going to be accepted. What Julie is saying is that you can simply click the pencil icon here, and even without making any changes, just by hitting save again, we'll kind of reprocess that image, make the file size compatible, the dimensions compatible, etc. And we're literally sort of just reprocessing that image here. So now this is technically a variation of that original image, isn't it, Julie?
It is.
One that would be accepted by Facebook. So no, great point. Great point. And sorry we didn't get to spend so much time in the actual compose box. We'll make sure that this is a bigger feature in the general training in August.
Like I say, that's a completely different webinar, and the recording is available on our help center. So
definitely,
yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thanks everyone for joining. It doesn't seem that there's been any other questions in the chat, but I hope everyone enjoyed that. And I look forward to seeing you all again in August. All right. Thank you, Julie. Thanks, everyone. And have a great day.